My daughter was attacked. The principal was on lunch break. The phrase, "boys will be boys," has become a venomous refrain in my life, a dismissive, five-word excuse that the administration at my daughter Leia's high school used as a shield for their own gross negligence. It was the condescending pat on the head they gave me every time I came to them with my concerns, my voice tight with a fear I was trying desperately to keep in check. The problem began the moment Leia started her freshman year, 5 long months ago. She was bright, a little shy, but full of a quiet excitement about this new chapter. That excitement began to curdle into a constant, low-grade anxiety thanks to 3 senior boys. It started subtly. They would accidentally bump into her in the crowded hallways, their laughter a little too loud, their apologies insincere. Then, they started following her home. Not every day, but often enough to establish a terrifying pattern. She'd see them a block behind her, matching her pace, calling out things she tried to ignore. I went to the school the first time she told me, my heart a cold, not of paternal dread. I met with the vice principal, a man whose weary expression suggested he'd heard all before. He listened with a detached patience, then offered the first iteration of that cursed phrase. "Mr. Clark's, they're seniors. They're probably just goofing around. Boys will be boys, you know." I insisted it wasn't a joke, that it was making my daughter feel unsafe. He promised to have a chat with them. The chats, if they ever happened, did nothing. The harassment continued, and my visits to the school became a frustrating, circular pilgrimage. Each report was met with the same placating, empty assurances. They were just being boys. Leia was being too sensitive. There was no real threat. Last Monday, that flimsy shield of institutional indifference was shattered, and the preventable tragedy we had warned them about came crashing down. I was at my desk, trying to focus on a spreadsheet, the mundane rhythm of my workday a world away from the horror that was about to unfold. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Leia. "Dad." Another buzz. "They're here." A cold dread washed over me. I typed back, "Who's here, sweetie? Where are you?" The reply came in a frantic, staccato burst. "The boys. In the girls' bathroom. They're trying to climb into my stall. Please help, Dad. I'm so scared." The world stopped. The numbers on my spreadsheet blurred into an incomprehensible scrawl. My chair scraped violently against the floor as I shot to my feet, my half-eaten lunch forgotten. I was already sprinting through the office, my phone pressed to my ear, the school's number already dialed by the time my colleagues even registered my abrupt departure. "Oakwood High. This is the secretary's desk. How can I help you?" The voice was calm, almost placid, a tranquil pond in the middle of my personal hurricane. "My daughter is in the bathroom," I yelled, my voice cracking as I fumbled for my car keys. 3 senior boys are trying to get into her stall. They're attacking her. There was a pause on the other end, a beat of silence that felt like an eternity. "Which bathroom, sir?" she asked, her tone still maddeningly neutral. I was in my car now, the engine roaring to life, my hands shaking so badly I could barely put it in drive. "The 3rd floor, I think." "I don't know. Just find her. Her name is Leia Clark's. You need to get someone there right now." I was screaming into the phone, a wild, desperate plea. "Sir," the secretary began, her voice taking on the patronizing tone of someone dealing with a hysterical child. "Unfortunately, school policy states that I cannot leave the secretary's desk unattended, and the principal is currently unavailable on her lunch break." The sheer, bureaucratic absurdity of her statement made my vision tunnel. "Are you out of your mind?" I roared, my voice raw with disbelief. "What are you talking about? My daughter is being attacked. Go to the bathroom now. Sir, please refrain from using vulgar language. I will make a note of your concern for when the principal returns from her break." I hung up. It was like trying to reason with a brick wall, a human robot programmed with protocols but devoid of an ounce of common sense or empathy. I glanced at my phone. Leia hadn't texted in 4 minutes. The silence was more terrifying than her frantic messages. The drive was a blur of blaring horns and red lights I barely registered. 8 minutes. 8 agonizing minutes later, I screeched to a halt, abandoning my car sideways in the bus lane, and burst through the school's front doors. The secretary looked up from her computer, her mouth opening to recite the sign-in procedures, but I was already a blur of motion, a freight train of pure adrenaline and terror, pounding up the stairs to the 3rd floor. I ran faster than I knew I was capable of, my lungs burning, my only thought a frantic prayer. "Please be okay. Please be okay. Please be okay." I reached the girls' bathroom, my hand outstretched to throw the door open, and my world came to a dead, horrifying stop. It was locked. locked from the inside. They had a key. This was premeditated. This was a trap. My worst nightmare, the one that had been lurking in the back of my mind for months, was real. I pressed my ear against the cold, unyielding metal of the door, and I could hear them. I could hear muffled laughter, and beneath it, a sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Leia's terrified, desperate sobs. I heard the distinct, sickening sound of fabric ripping, and then her crying turned into a muffled scream, as if a hand had been clamped over her mouth. A primal rage, white-hot and absolute, consumed me. I threw my entire body weight against the door, my shoulders screaming in protest. But this was one of the new, reinforced steel doors the school had installed after a shooting 4 years ago. It didn't budge. It didn't even rattle. "Leia, I'm here, baby. Daddy's here." I screamed, my voice cracking. I grabbed a heavy wooden chair from the hallway, a pathetic weapon against an unmovable obstacle, and swung it with all my might against the door. The chair exploded into a shower of splinters, my hands stinging from the impact. The door remained unscratched. The fire extinguisher, heavy and solid, was my next hope. I hammered it against the lock mechanism, again and again, the clang of metal on metal echoing through the now silent hallway. But the door was doing exactly what it was designed to do: keep people out. Or, in this case, keep a predator in. By now, the secretary had huffed her way up the 3 flights of stairs, her face red and blotchy, her expression one of pure indignation. "Sir, you are destroying school property," she panted, her hands on her hips. "I'm calling security. Give me the key." I roared, turning on her with a ferocity that made her physically recoil. "I don't have bathroom keys, sir," she stammered, her eyes wide with fear. "Only the principal has those, and she's—" I didn't wait for her to finish. I was already running again, this time toward the principal's office, a new, desperate plan forming in my mind. I reached her office at the end of the hall. Through the large glass window in her door, I saw her. She was sitting at her desk, calmly eating a salad from a plastic container, scrolling through her phone with one hand. I pounded on the door, the force of the blows shaking the entire wall. She looked up, her expression one of mild annoyance, not alarm. She held up 5 fingers, mouthed the words 5 minutes, pointed to her salad, and then her eyes went back to her phone. That single, dismissive gesture broke something inside me. As the school security guard, a portly man named Jim, appeared behind me, his hand on his radio, I made a decision. I was done asking. I was done waiting. I picked up another chair from the hallway. The principal saw me raise it over my head, and her eyes finally widened, not with concern for my daughter, but with fear for her own safety. I swung the chair. The glass of her office window exploded inward in a cascade of glittering shards. She screamed, her salad dropping to the floor. "Sir, stop!" the security guard yelled, grabbing my arm. I shook him off, my focus absolute. I reached through the jagged hole I had created, my arm slicing open on the remaining shards of glass, and unlocked her door from the inside. Blood, warm and slick, dripped from my hand onto her pristine beige carpet. "You're insane," the principal shrieked, scrambling back from her desk. "I'm calling the police." I ignored her, yanking open her desk drawers, sweeping aside papers and office supplies until my fingers closed around a heavy ring of keys. I ran back towards the bathroom, leaving a trail of bloody handprints on the sterile white walls, a testament to my desperation. But when I got there, it was too late. The door was ajar. The boys were gone, and my daughter, my sweet, beautiful Leia, was curled in a small, broken ball on the cold, tiled floor. Her skirt was torn, her lip was split and bleeding, and her shirt was unbuttoned, her bra ripped. I saw the glint of something wet and sticky in her hair, and a wave of nausea so profound washed over me that I had to steady myself against the doorframe. My world, which had been spinning with adrenaline and rage, came to a dead, silent stop. The only thing that mattered was her. I stumbled toward her, my phone already in my hand, dialing 911. I knelt beside her, shrugging off my jacket to wrap around her small, trembling body. It was in that moment, as I was whispering her name, trying to pull her back from the dark place she had gone, that the principal rushed in, flanked by the security guard. Her first words were not of concern for my daughter. They were of accusation, her voice a shrill, self-righteous shriek. "You assaulted me. Jim, he could have killed me with that chair." I was on the phone with the 911 dispatcher, my voice a broken whisper, one hand stroking Leia's hair as she choked on sobs that were mixed with blood. But the principal was relentless, pacing the bathroom, her voice rising in a crescendo of performative hysteria. "You have traumatized my entire staff," she declared, pulling out her own phone. "Every student on this floor saw you acting like a maniac. That's 200 children who are going to need counseling because of your violent outburst." The security guard, Jim, was now filming the scene with his phone, a silent, complicit observer in her insane narrative spinning. "This is going to be on the news," she continued, now speaking in her own phone. "A parent going psychotic, destroying school property, creating an unsafe learning environment. The superintendent is going to hear about this." She paused, her tone shifting to one of crisp, official urgency. "Yes, hello. We have a violent intruder on campus who threatened me with a weapon." She gave my physical description, meticulously detailing a premeditated assault on her office. She never once mentioned the 3 boys. She never once mentioned the reason for my psychotic behavior. She was erasing the crime against my daughter in real time, recasting herself as the victim and me as the villain. When the police arrived 4 minutes later, their faces grim and ready for a confrontation, she pointed a trembling, accusatory finger at me. "That's him," she declared. "The one who attacked me." 2 officers immediately moved toward me, their expressions hard, while their colleagues pushed past to get to Leia. An officer placed a firm hand on my shoulder, guiding me away from my child. I tried to explain, to tell them about the boys, but he just said, "We'll talk at the station." As the paramedics rushed in, their gurney rattling on the tiled floor, the principal was already giving her statement to another officer, her voice loud and clear for everyone to hear, repeating the words "violent" and "unstable," while Jim proudly presented his video evidence. No one asked me what happened. No one asked why I'd been trying to break down a bathroom door. They put me in handcuffs right there in the hallway as students peered out from their classrooms, their phones held up to record my humiliation. I watched, helpless, as they wheeled my daughter away, a lone female paramedic holding her hand, the only person in that entire building who had shown her a single shred of human kindness. The booking process was a surreal, dehumanizing blur. Fingerprints, mugshots, the cold, impersonal questions. My hands were still bleeding, and a nurse had to clean and bandage them before they could get a clear print. My one phone call wasn't to a lawyer. It was to the hospital, a desperate attempt to get an update on Leia. They refused to tell me anything over the phone. While I was sitting in a cold, concrete holding cell, a victim's advocate was meeting my daughter at the hospital, guiding her through the invasive, traumatizing process of a SANE exam. I was released hours later with a court date for property damage and a gnawing sense of powerlessness. I found Leia in a quiet hospital room, cleaned up but looking like a fragile porcelain doll, her eyes vacant and haunted. She flinched when I moved toward her. "Don't touch me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But please don't leave." I pulled a chair close, a silent sentinel by her bedside. Detective Paula Norris arrived soon after, her expression professional, but her eyes holding a flicker of empathy. She interviewed me in the hallway first, and I saw her jaw tighten when I recounted the principal's 5-finger wait signal. She spent a long time with Leia, her voice a low, gentle murmur through the closed door. The days that followed were a descent into a bureaucratic and emotional hell. The school issued a public statement about a violent incident involving a parent, carefully omitting any mention of the assault that had precipitated it. A selectively edited video of me breaking the principal's window went viral, and I was crucified online, branded as an unhinged, dangerous father. The school served me with a no trespass order. My boss put me on administrative leave. One of the assailant's fathers confronted me in a grocery store parking lot, threatening to sue me for defamation for ruining his son's future. But amidst the chaos, small cracks of light began to appear. Detective Norris was a bulldog. She obtained the hallway security footage, which clearly showed the 3 boys entering the bathroom at the exact time of Leia's first text. She subpoenaed the school's phone records, proving the secretary had received my frantic call and done nothing. The SANE exam report came back, its clinical, brutal language a testament to the horror Leia had endured, but it was undeniable medical evidence. The school custodian came forward, giving a sworn statement that he had seen the boys with a set of master keys they shouldn't have had. Another girl, a victim from the previous year, saw the news reports and came forward, her story a chilling echo of Leia's. The district, facing a tidal wave of evidence and the threat of a federal Title IX investigation, began to backpedal. They offered mediation, counseling funds, and policy changes, all while refusing to admit any wrongdoing. The principal was quietly reassigned to a desk job. The criminal charges against the two older boys moved forward, while the youngest was sent to juvenile court. I took a plea deal for the property damage, accepting probation and community service, a bitter pill to swallow, but a necessary sacrifice to keep the focus on Leia's case. Leia began therapy, a slow, arduous process of confronting her trauma. There were setbacks, panic attacks triggered by the smell of a particular cologne, sleepless nights filled with nightmares. But there were also breakthroughs. The day she slept through the night for the first time. The first time she joined a support group with other young survivors and realized she wasn't alone. And then, one evening, as we were making dinner, I made a stupid joke, and she laughed. A real, genuine laugh that bubbled up from deep inside her. It was a sound I thought I might never hear again. It was the sound of healing. We're not over it. You don't get over something like this. But we are surviving. One day, one small victory at a time. And in this new, fractured world, that is enough.